So good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is the Ada Lovelace Day Trailblazer event in connection with our partner AtkinsRealis. So this week we're celebrating the first ever Women in Tech Week. And obviously that's to celebrate works and achievements of women from across the world. And Next Tech Girls and AtkinsRealis have partnered together to bring this amazing event because today is also Ada Lovelace Day. I'm going to talk some more about Ada Lovelace later, but we have a quiz there's also a question about her. See, how many of you know about her? If you do, you let us know. I'll do the quiz in just a minute. My name is Gail, and I am the head of community for Next Tech Girls. And for today's event, what we're going to do, I'm going to show you, is we are going to have a little intro about who Next Tech Girl is, who AtkinsRealis, our partners, are, and because the ladies that you'll be meeting are the ladies who are trailblazers from AtkinsRealis, who's an engineering company. We'll talk some more about that in a minute. Then we're going to have a tiny quiz just to get kind of like a feel of what the tech industry knowledge is like. And we then get into the panel conversation with our trailblazers. And after that, we're going to have question and answer session with them as well. So I just want to ask the teachers, if you have any questions for us or your students do, then please pop them in the Q&A bits in the chat, or just in the chat as it is, and we will pick it up afterwards and talk about it. Okay. So a bit about Next Tech Girls. We are a social enterprise whose mission is to inspire more young girls, well, young people, especially girls, to pursue a career, in the tech industry. We know we want to do this because there just aren't enough girls and women, as a matter of fact, in the industry of tech. And because of that, we really want to push and try and close that gender and skills gap. We want to equip women with digital skills and make sure that women who are underrepresented are also represented. In the quiz that we're having, you will find out in a bit how many percentage of women actually work in tech. It's actually incredible. Some of you may already know this, some of you may not. And I think every time people find out, it's actually quite surprising. So we really want to push for young girls to get interested in tech by taking up science subjects, STEM subjects, and then representing it all through into, if they choose to go through university route or apprenticeship route, whichever, but just carry it all through and make a career of it so we can get more girls and women into the world of technology. Our hashtag, as you can see, one of them is Smash the Stereotype. That's because we're really on a mission to smash that stereotype that most girls have. There's plenty of it. A lot of times people think it's only boys who can be technologists or software engineers, or engineers. And there's so many more stereotypes around girls going into technology. And you wouldn't believe some of them include hair. That some girls think if they're going to tech, they'd have to cut their hair to look like boys. I know it's 2024, but it's incredible. So that's part of what Next Tech Girls wants to do, which is smash that stereotype, break that skills and gender gap, and get more women into tech by equipping young girls in today's education. Okay, for AtkinsRealis, who is our partner on today's event, we're running in partnership with them. AtkinsRealis is a world-class engineering organization, and they provide services. They're also a nuclear organization, and they connect people, data, and technology to transform the world's infrastructure and energy systems. In the panel coming up, you will hear more about some of the projects that they've done, which include building like the Heathrow Airport, the world's tallest hotel in Dubai, Hong Kong International Airport, and as a matter of fact, the new Elizabeth line, AtkinsRealis has something to do with that as well. But it's incredible that we've got this amazing organization to be with us for this event. I think every student who's on here is going to take away a lot from the trailblazers that we have on our panel. So if you just pay attention to them, any questions you have, ask them. They're probably the best means for you to get to know more about what it feels like working in such an incredible organization like AtkinsRealis. Then you can also find out kind of like the different routes that there are to get into working for this organization, and then maybe what they do as well. Gives you a glimpse into that. So like I said before I started, we are going to have a quiz. I want everyone to get ready. It's just going to show up on screen. You think about the answer and if you want, you can write it down, you can pop it in the chat, whatever makes you happy. But then I will tell you the answers to the quiz at the end of it. There's only 5 questions. It's not long at all because we don't have a lot of time. So here's the quiz. If you're all ready, like I said, teachers, please be ready to pop the questions, the answers into the chat box if you want to. Thank you. Okay, so here's question 1. True or false? You need a computer science A-level or computer science degree to work in the tech industry. Do you think this is true or is it false? Let us know. I can see answers coming in. I can see answers already. Someone says false. You need a computer science or A-level or computer science degree to work in tech. Is this true or false? Thank you for those who put in answers. Next question. And also students can, shout out to their teachers. We can't hear you, but your teachers can. So that's always fun. Don't make too much noise and get in trouble though. Question number 2, around what percentage of the tech industry are women? So, I talked about it earlier when I was doing my intro, telling you about why Next Tech Girls exist. And that's because of the percentage of women in tech. It's not much at all, but that's not me giving you the answer. So what do you think the answer is? Is it 10%, B, 25%, or C, 15%? What do you think the answer is? Is it A, B, or C? I can see answers coming through. Thank you very much. Okay, 5 more seconds for this one, and we'll move on to the next question. Okay, question number 3. What is the average starting salary for a software engineer? So what do you think a software engineer who literally just qualified and is just starting out would make? Is it £20,000, £35,000, or £45,000? Again, I can see answers coming. Great answers. What do you think is the average starting salary for a software engineer? So we have 3, 2, 1, and I'll move on to the next question. Okay, question 4. When was the first crash test dummy based on a woman developed? When was the first crash test dummy based on a woman developed? Do you think it was 1977, 2005, or 2022? And just for context, crash test dummy is obviously the dummy that we'll put in cars. This is for my young students. You put in cars to then test cars and make sure that the cars are safe. So they will crash it and see how they impact. So the crash test dummy is obviously they're representing a human being. But all this while it's been based on men. So when do you think the first one that's based on a woman was developed? Was this in 1997, 2005, or 2022? And last question. What groundbreaking achievement is Ada Lovelace known for? Like I said, some of you may already know this. Some of you may be hearing about Ada Lovelace for the first time. But just take a guess if you don't know. If you do know, it'd be great to know. What groundbreaking achievement was Ada Lovelace known for? Is it inventing the first computer? Is it B, writing the first ever computer program? Or was it C, designing the first ever computer chip? They all sound like it could be any of them, doesn't it? So what do you think the answers are? Thank you for the answers you're inputting so far. Great job. And students, I feel like I can hear you shouting, even if I can't hear it. Tell your teachers what you think and let them give us the answers. And I'll be revealing the answers in just a few seconds. Okay. Here we go. Just getting up the answers now. This is so cool. I can see everybody's putting in their answer. I'm just waiting. Fab. Okay. Let's move on. So here are the answers to the quiz. Question 1. True or false, you need a computer science A-level degree or degree to work in the tech industry? The answer is false. You do not need a computer science A-level or degree to work within the tech industry. And our Trailblazers are going to prove that to you in just a minute. Question number 2, around what percentage of the tech industry are women? I saw all the answers here and you are correct. A lot of you, the answer is B, it is 25%. And this tells you that what we're saying, or what I was saying earlier, is so true. we don't have enough women in the world of tech, and we would really, really like to bring it up to par as much as possible. Hence, we are doing everything in our power as Next Tech Girls, partnering with people from organizations like AtkinsRealis to bring not just knowledge, but obviously tell you exactly what roles there are in tech that you can go into if you want to. Everything we do is about if you want to, but make sure you're making that decision from a place of knowledge. Yeah. So there's not enough women. We really need to push for further for it. And what is the average starting salary for a software engineer? I think a lot of people went for B. The answer is actually C. It is 45,000. You do make good money as a software engineer and as other, in other roles as well within the tech industry. So if you're thinking about it, but you weren't sure about money, I hope this convinces you. And question 4, when was the first crash test dummy based on a woman developed? Would you believe it was in 2022? That's like 2 years ago. Actually, is it exactly 2 years now? Might be even less, depending on the month. 2 years ago. And the funny thing is that the law still only requires car manufacturers to test crash dummies based on men. So this means that cars are in some way still a bit, still less safe for women, because if you used it based on a man, it wouldn't take a woman's physique into question when they're doing the test. So women need to be more involved in designing and development of technology, because this will ensure that it meets not just the men's need, but the women's needs as well. This is why, again, we're doing what we're doing. And last question was about Ada Lovelace, whose day we're celebrating today. What groundbreaking achievement was she known for? The answer was B, writing the first ever computer program. Yes, she wrote the first computer program in the 1800s, would you believe? 1800. So she was a STEM pioneer. She did some incredibly amazing things, and she's such an inspiration even till today, especially actually today. So we're celebrating her day today. I can see some comments in the chat, and yes, you're right, it is such an interesting fact. I think you're referring to the crash test dummy. This is correct. It is so interesting that women still haven't progressed as much as we think we should have in 2024, but together hopefully we can make a difference by doing things like this and educating our young ones and inspiring them to really get into the world of tech and become a part of the voices that create products. So thank you everyone for participating in that quiz. I hope you enjoyed it and enjoyed the facts. Let me see before we move on swiftly. Okay, perfect. So now let's go into AtkinsRealis, the Trailblazer panel, okay? So before I introduce them, I want to just reiterate that if you can just make sure that everywhere is quiet on your end, and also if you have any questions for them, please pop them in the chat box and we're going to pick it up. But also, every question I'm going to be asking them this morning were questions that have been submitted by some of the people who signed up to be a part of this event today. So when we sent out the when you signed up for it, we did ask you what questions do you have for a panelist, and a lot of you sent in some incredible questions, and we've chosen some of the ones that we think will actually answer a lot of people's questions together, and we've put them together to ask them. So this question is not just off the top of our heads, they're inspired by yourselves based on what you submitted. Okay, so if you have any more questions not answered today, please pop them in the chat box and we'll answer them. Okay, so here are AtkinsRealis Trailblazers. We have Millie Coombes, and they will introduce themselves not in this particular order. Fran Bond, Dhruvi Parikh, and Wafa Mohbubul. So I am going to bring them online now, and we can start. So ladies, if you can just unmute yourselves. I'm sorry, and come off your video. I can't speak now, but I will get there.
Hi.
Hello, ladies. Am I missing anyone?
Morning.
Good morning. No, we're all here. Perfection. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to start by asking, and it's a random pick, to just start by introducing yourself. What I'd like you to do, ladies, is to tell us who you are, what you do, and very, very briefly how you got in, because we're still going to talk extensively on that. So I'm just going to start with Fran, if you could just start. And then Fran, when you finish, pick your next person to go on after you.
I
Thank
knew
you.
you'd do that. I knew you'd do that. Well, hello, ladies. I'm probably the oldest person on the call today, so I want to put into perspective. I'm called IT Lifecycle Management Director. What that actually means is I look after all the software that goes through AtkinsRealis, which is a large company of about 38,000 people, and obviously we all need software to keep things going. So it involves introducing new software into the portfolio. It involves packaging it, checking licenses, dealing with all the issues that come out of software. And how I got into this job, I have absolutely no idea. I started work probably before most of your parents were even born. I started in a secretarial role. I went to a very good grammar school. I was schooled in making sure that grammar was really correct. Our careers room was so small you couldn't even fit a Christmas tree into it. There was one book about your choices: either go to university or become a nurse. And I'm not saying they're not good things to do, but I didn't do either of them. I started working in an environment where you weren't allowed to wear trousers to work. If you wore a jumper with a suit, that was, my mum used to tell me off if I went out the door in a jumper. And Gail, you were talking about, girls cutting their hair to look like boys. It was so much worse when I started. It's a good place to be working now. I don't have a technical background. My background is languages. I did do a biology A level, which again at the time mixing languages and sciences was not particularly done. So my A level schedule was horrendous. All my exams were in 1 week because people were not expected to mix those disciplines. Didn't go to university. Just decided not to. And I think university is much more of an option these days than it ever was when I was younger. As I say, my background is very non-technical. I am very passionate about good communication. I'm very passionate about building relationships, taking risks, talking to people, not saying no to any opportunity. The job I'm doing now, I was asked to interview for it. To be honest, it wouldn't have occurred to me to go for it. I'm picking up stuff as I learn on the job. My role is to look after the people in my team. They're the experts. They know what they're talking about. I have actually got quite a high percentage of women in my team, Gail, to be honest. I've probably got 70%, but they're not doing coding or programming, if you like. They're not, but I absolutely don't think there is a barrier to women coming into these roles now. I think it's about being bold. I think women tend to look at a job description and say, oh, I can only do 80% of that. I probably won't go for that. Whereas a man will say, oh, I can do 50% of that. I'm going for that. So my advice really is be bold, take risks, do things that you probably wouldn't think you could do. As I say, my background is very non-technical. I've done some ITIL Foundation qualifications. Most of my qualifications are in people and networking and presenting and confidence building, probably what you'd call the soft skills. But we have plenty of women now coming through IT services, and I have a separate role which is about equality, diversity and inclusion, making sure we're keeping that top of mind when we look at how we work with people. So I think, to be honest, it's mostly about making sure that at the recruitment stage you're giving people an equal chance to qualify for jobs. I'm not saying men or women are better. I just think it's about making sure you're not going in front of a panel of all the same sort of person. You've got to have diversity in the panel. So I just think it's learning as you go, to be honest, Gail.
Absolutely.
And ladies.
You sound so interesting. There's so much. I can't wait. There's so much more. I'm sure the questions we have, you'll feed into.
I'm old. That's why I'm interesting. I'm old. I'm coming out
Fran,
at the end of my career. Not
my
coming at
child
the
told
beginning.
me I'm vintage. You're not old. You're vintage.
Vintage. That's it. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. But no. So it's fun. I think ask questions, be bold, talk to people. Don't be afraid of failure. If you get it wrong, do something else. And all these ladies you've got on the call, they've got years ahead of them. You've got to take some left turns somewhere. So Right, I'm going to
Fran,
pick on
don't give everything
somebody.
away. Don't give everything away just
No,
yet.
no, 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 no. Who am I going to pick on? Wafa, I know you. I'm going to pick on you, so you
I
can go
saw that
next.
coming from a mile. Thanks, Fran.
You're welcome.
Morning, everyone. So I'm
Good
Wafa,
morning.
and I'm a DevOps products manager at AtkinsRealis. So my story's a little bit different, but again, it's carrying on from what Fran said. It's being bold. So I actually joined AtkinsRealis in January, so fairly recently. So I've only been at the company for about 10 months now. So I actually graduated in physics last year at Queen Mary University. So a lot of you will know that university. I did physics, so I didn't do computer science. So that was just purely because I was good with the numbers and I was good with the science, and astronomy was something I really enjoyed. So I decided to go into that university. So I did that university, and then I graduated last year in June. So the question is, how did I get into AtkinsRealis? Well, that's a bit of a funny one, and that's where I met Fran. So actually, I was actually at a previous company training to be, I think it was a data engineer. And I went into the technology world because there was just a huge number of vacancies out there for just technology. And you'll find that as a woman, it works in your favor because again, we've got this huge push to get women into the IT services and to get women into tech. So that actually worked in my favor. And I was actually also working with BCS and volunteering with BCS. For those that don't know what BCS is, it's the British Chartered Institute of IT.
Yeah.
Yep. So I did a lot of volunteering with them, where it was mentoring young girls, and I was actually being mentored as well. And they actually asked me if I wanted to do a speech about my story coming into technology at the IT Industry Awards. Now, for those that don't know what the IT Industry Awards is, it's a huge, black tie event, very posh, very prestige. You've got all sorts of people like Fran and the CIOs and CEOs at this event, and they're all looking glamorous, in their £1 million suits. So I actually went on this event, and I said, right, I'll do this speech for about 2-3 minutes, and I did. This was last November 2020. That was daunting, I can tell you that. So I was in my beautiful dress, Fran will tell you, and I got on this stage and I delivered a speech about my story into technology, and why I chose it as a young person, because I just graduated from university. That's where I met Fran and the team. I met Steve, who was our COO at the time. We just had a chat, and it just kind of spiraled from there. We just had a chat. I was talking about what I was into, and he said, well, would you like a job? And it was as simple as that.
Wow.
And that is how I got into the role. So I didn't have to do any interviews. I didn't have to do anything like that. I didn't have a tech background, clearly. I was training to be a data engineer for about 2 months, and then the event happened, and I met all the amazing people in the company. And after that, he followed up on LinkedIn the next day, and we had a chat on Zoom. And then I joined and did the recruitment process, because it's a lengthy process, and joined in January. So that's how I got into AtkinsRealis. Do I have any regrets? Nope, not one bit. Again, it's about being bold. It's about taking the opportunities. Sometimes, it's always about putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, because that's where you'll excel, and that's where I excelled. Delivering a speech to about 1,500 professionals was very daunting for someone my age. But again, be bold, do it, and I think you'll go far. And again, the world is your oyster. It's what I was taught. So that's how I got into the company, and that's my little background in a nutshell.
Thank you, Wafa.
Shall I pick on someone now? I'm gonna pick Millie because I know you.
Hi everyone. So I'm Millie Coombes, and obviously I work for AtkinsRealis, have done for the past 9 years. And I'm a senior cybersecurity consultant. So I wasn't always in cyber. I'll cover briefly, as we've been asked, to my time before AtkinsRealis, which was school. So I also went to a grammar school, Fran. And I must say the focus for me, I don't know if this is still the case, I hope not, but it was university or nothing, was kind of the the line given to us. I did my A levels, again unconventionally mixed A levels, and it was still sort of frowned upon. I did geography, English literature, and physics. And my English literature and physics exams clashed, so I ended up doing them one after the other, which was fun. But interestingly from that, I'd have to say I think the geography and the English literature served me better than the physics has in my tech career, which is probably a little bit odd to hear, but it's all that critical thinking, which is very valuable. So from that, I actually got involved. I did some work experience with what was Atkins at the time, now AtkinsRealis, with the people from where I live, and that was in rail telecoms. So CCTV, public address, so the speakers and things, all of that kind of design, which is more complicated than it sounds. So I really like that. And in a similar fashion, I think to you, Wafa, I got offered to do an apprenticeship with no interview or anything, based upon doing a year of work experience on my sort of free day I had scheduled in school. So I started my apprenticeship. I did that in electrical and electronic engineering. For a couple of years. I was always quite passionate about continuing on my learning. So I was lucky enough to undertake a degree apprenticeship in digital technology solutions. I do believe that's still going, and there's a number of pathways you can take depending on what career you want to sort of pursue. Mine was in my specialist pathway was in cyber analyst. Alongside that, whilst I was still working in rail design, I was doing a little bit more of the BIM and 3D CAD modeling. If any of you have heard or not heard about that, that's where you see the kind of 3D models of, in my case, train stations, and all of the infrastructure that sits behind that, and creating all of that, which was quite interesting. So again, probably some similarities with Wafa's journey. I attended a conference in London about cybersecurity. It was a number of different institutions that come together to host that. And I spoke in it was a panel discussion similar to this about apprenticeships, and I was in the audience, and I spoke up about my opinions on the value of apprenticeships, as I'm a very keen proponent of those. And I had a couple of people sort of tap me on the shoulder and wanted to follow up based on that. Anyway, long story short, I was put forward for an award. And then somebody from another part of AtkinsRealis reached out when I was successful with the award to say, how would you feel about working in cybersecurity? So I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. So I transferred over to that part of the business. Completed my degree, and yeah, a few years down the line, here I am. I've been lucky enough to, through hard work, obviously, to have a couple of promotions, and now I'm managing a lot of my own work, delivering secure projects across defence, government, and critical national infrastructure. A quick name drop as well. I think it's you mentioned earlier, Gail, about the Elizabeth line. I worked on that when I was in rail. So
how cool! That is so cool.
But yeah, so I hope that I'll be able to respond to some questions later.
Yes,
but I'll keep it short. And I will pass on to Dhruvi.
Thank you, Millie.
Thank you, Millie. Yeah, hello everyone. Hello ladies. I'm really excited to be here today. Like you know that I'm Dhruvi Parikh, and I'm really excited to talk about my tech journey, right? Because it has been both challenging, but above all, it has been incredibly rewarding for me to be able to see myself where I am today, and the entire course of journey that I've taken. And my tech journey has been the most traditional as compared to the panelists that just spoke, because for me it was a very clear decision right from in high school with the love for math, and then that kind of grew into the computer science degree. So I knew absolutely that computer science is something that I want to take up, and then I progressed with that, and it closely made me realize that the love for math, wherein the problem solving aspect comes in, it has so much impact in the technology sector itself, because once I started taking that degree, it really made me realize that that technology at the beneath of the surface is all about these complex algorithms, which are generally can be achieved through step-by-step processes. And that is exactly what math teaches you or makes you ready for, right? Like you can imagine math as a puzzle and you're trying to solve a problem, which you definitely know has a solution if you approach it right. So that interest kind of grew on me, and I started my tech journey as a software developer. I joined Atkins way back in 2017. I was a product analyst there. I was working as a SQL developer, building these algorithms, which were eventually creating applications that were being utilized by our site inspectors for their construction management processes. So you can imagine in a day's life of a site inspector, they go on to the site. They do a huge amount of workflow in inspecting these various big construction projects that are happening around the globe. And for them to be able to utilize digital solution, which kind of increases their productivity and decreases the time that it takes to complete a particular task. And you know that you're directly impacting these end users. It's just amazing, because that's what I learned, that with coding, writing a few lines of code, you are directly going to impact somebody's end time, how it's going to be utilized. So that journey has taught me a lot. And then I progressed within AtkinsRealis. I got a lot of opportunities to take a various role. Then I moved into product management, where I was closely working again on tech products, building digital solutions that were more into asset management applications, so more on the operation and site maintenance. And with the current role at AtkinsRealis, I'm a research and development lead. And this is the most exciting role, I would say, because it kind of gives me an opportunity to work on the emerging technologies, especially under the umbrella of artificial intelligence. So I'm based out of the Middle East, and here we do have like giga projects coming up. If you all are aware of the line, the Muqab, it's a massive smart cities that are being built with the modern technology. And to be able to know that I'm able to contribute in terms of the digital aspects of that particular development process is a huge impact in itself. And to all the ladies attending today, I would want to say that always be ready to take that first step, and whatever the opportunity is, do not shy away from it, because it's all about doing. A lot of us now has access to so much information, so much data, but doing something about it is what really makes the difference, I would say. So when you're given an opportunity, just find a way to figure it out and do it yourself. Thank you.
I did that thing where you start talking and forget that you muted yourself. How incredible. Thank you so much, ladies. That is like your journeys are so different, but also the same in terms of like experience that you've been through personally to then decide on what you need to do and what you want to do next. That's so incredible. And all your introductions kind of like feed into the first question. I think all of you have answered most of the questions in question one that we had. And question one was all about the pathways that you took into your profession, which all of you have now mentioned. So thank you very, very much. For recap, Dhruvi, you went to uni. Wafa, you went to uni as well. And Millie, you also went to uni. But then along the way, Wafa and Millie, you did apprenticeship scheme. Wafa, we picked up some amazing points actually, which is incredible. Like Wafa, in your case, connectivity, going out, putting yourselves out there and making that connection is also part of what we're trying to do here at Next Tech Girls, teaching girls how to do network and build their professional sort of like connections. And then Dhruvi, for you as well, when you mentioned how you found your love for math. And what I really love was when you mentioned how you found out that you love problem solving. And that's exactly what maths does. But I think a lot of time we're scared of maths because we think it's some, huge thing that we need to run away from. Maybe I shouldn't say we, I should just say me and admit it was me. That's why I ran away from maths, because like I can't do it. And I absolutely love your conversation, Fran, when you mentioned the fact that you don't have a tech background, but yet here you are working in this ginormous engineering and nuclear organization. It's incredible. So with all of that said, the next part of question one, like I said, the first part of it was the pathway you all took into this profession, and you've all given that. So moving on to the second part of that question, it was about the pros and cons of your own respective pathways. And the person that asked the question said, would you change it if given the chance? So for that question, I'm going to come to Millie first. And Millie, the reason I'm coming to you is because you mentioned the fact that you've been to uni and then you had to do this apprenticeship scheme pathway, for even though it's like special to what you chose to do. What are the pros and the cons of doing that? And if there is more pros or there are no cons, no problem. You don't have to mention the cons. Just tell us the pros. But also, would you do something different if given the chance?
Yeah, so I'll cover off briefly. So I left school at 18 after I'd done my A levels, and moved straight into the world of work doing an apprenticeship. So all my sort of education beyond that point was done in parallel with work through work. I found that to be incredibly beneficial because it gave purpose and meaning to the education that I was doing, and I had the support of the people around me. I think it's really interesting, what it was for me at the time, to see the parallel of my friends going to university and me working. And something I observed at the time was the sort of change in maturity. I think I matured at a very quicker rate because I was in work, the people I was around. And it was kind of easier to make that transition, I think, because you have so much structure in school and then you move to the structure of work. Something that I think my friends found quite difficult when they left university is having all that flexibility and then having to move back to a relatively strict schedule. It wasn't easy, don't get me wrong. Like I mentioned, there was a lot of stigma in me choosing to do an apprenticeship when I was in sixth form. And that's not always easy. I did feel quite unsupported, that's the word, when I'd made that decision. And people often had again, I think it's changing now, but people had the opinion that you would do an apprenticeship because you couldn't go to university, you weren't academic enough, which wasn't the case for me. I was going to go and do geography, and I think in sort of response to would I choose a different path, no, because I probably wouldn't have ended up where I am now. And I think that it's allowed me to go through a career at a lot faster pace. I don't have any student debt. I've gathered work experience alongside doing my education. Yes, there were some long days, long weekends doing particularly my degree. That was quite stressful, but no, I wouldn't change it at all. The only con I think I can think of is probably I didn't get that traditional university experience, but personally I'm okay with that. So again, I think you mentioned before, Gail, about being empowered and having the knowledge to make that decision. That's the most important thing. I'm not going to force people to take the same route as me, but there's definitely some quite large pros for that route, I would say.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Millie. One of the things I really like that you just touched on is the stigma that's still attached to, you said it's changing. Yes, but actually there still is, because obviously, we deal with young people a lot and we talk to them. And there's this, we always get them saying, my parents said, no, absolutely not. I must go to university. And we're trying to, again, smash that stereotype by saying it is not necessary, because there are a lot of people that may want to go to university and they don't even have the money for it. So now you're feeling bad that you don't have the money for it. And then there are those who don't want to go to university because they've decided and identified that they're better off working and learning at the same time. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So the stigma is still attached. And this is why I'm going to bring it back to you, Fran. I want you to tell us a little bit more about you. You've got some amazing, incredible story, and your experience is amazing. I think it's really, really important for this session that the young students with us today, please listen and understand when Fran is talking, she's talking about the fact that she does not have a tech background, but somehow she's still working for this huge organization. I think you need to check out AtkinsRealis after this. We'll send you a video, actually. Everyone watching, we'll send a video later so you can see some of what they do. And I think Dhruvi mentioned about the line, which I've researched into. It's incredible. Dhruvi, is it like 5 million or 9 million people to be within this city? That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back to you on that and we can talk some more. So for now, Fran, I want you to tell us a little bit more about your journey. So what I really want you to focus on is, what are the pros that you have taken on your journey from not going through the linear pathway of going to university, doing STEM or tech subjects, but now you're working in this organization? And number two, there's two parts to it. And number two, you mentioned earlier about soft skills. And that's another thing we want people to understand. The soft skill is still, there are still skills that you can use to work in any organization, especially within tech as well. Can you talk a little bit about those, please? Thank you, Fran.
I think the pros and the soft skills are kind of combined for me, because for me, the pros of taking the route I've taken are around relationship building, communications. I'm passionate about communications. I mean, I think Dan Rogers is on this call. He knows I'm a bit of a red penner in this organisation. Stuff comes to me to check because that's my grammar school background, but it's really important. So I just want to go back to something Millie said. Actually, she was talking about the apprenticeship route. I've got a daughter of 23 who was a COVID casualty. She was at Manchester University for about a term and then ended up in a house with other girls she didn't get on with, so decided to come away. And she still has this in her head that she's failed somehow, and she hasn't. She's in Australia at the moment and she's been working over there, but I'd really like her to come back and do an apprenticeship because I think there's huge value in it. Absolutely. But I'm afraid there is still a bit of a stigma about the non-uni route. I feel I have to sometimes explain that I didn't go to university because I chose not to go to university. The pros of my route have been I've had to use this to get where I've got. I've talked, I've met people, I've asked what I would probably call stupid questions, but they're probably not stupid questions. I will always be honest if I don't understand something, and I would absolutely urge everybody listening to ask questions. That's if you don't understand something, there's nothing wrong with that. And we say here, fail fast. If you don't understand something, and ask, because otherwise you could cause more of a problem. Soft skills, again, it's people, it's talking, it's listening. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen more than you talk. I think it's being approachable and putting yourself forward. That's always the way I've operated. I've been in the company 19 years now. That's and I have to say, alongside the soft skills, what's really helped is the flexibility that this company has offered, because I've had 3 children. I started at a time when my daughter, my youngest child, was just starting school, in the days when you could only do half days if you were born after Christmas. So I was doing 2.5-hour days for the first term. But I think it's worth looking into a company's approach to flexible working options, definitely. So that's really helped me to progress. But listening, and the other thing about this panel is, I know Wafa, I've never met Millie, and I've never met Dhruvi, but here we are. Oh wow! Building relationships on a call that you've pulled together. So and it's really important, really important. You know who to talk to. That's how you get through life. So absolutely, yeah. Thank you very much for that, Fran. Really appreciate it. And saying that, I'm going to take it over to Dhruvi now. Dhruvi, I think you're joining us from the Middle East. Am I right?
That's right. Yes.
Isn't this incredible, everyone? You have Dhruvi all the way from the Middle East right here on this call. You can literally ask her any question. And Dhruvi has been working on some incredible projects within AtkinsRealis. So Dhruvi, somebody sent in a question, and their question read, what or who inspired you to forge a career in what is predominantly a male-dominated industry?
Right. Yeah, so for this, I would say that I don't have a specific person, but it's more of my experience when I joined the tech industry itself, right? So I'm holding a 10 years experience now, and not a single time I've been led by a female boss. So all these years, I was always having a male boss, and then at that level, at the senior management level, you only see it's highly populated and highly dominated by men, and that kind of always felt me somewhere that like there are not many female leaders as you go up the ladder, and that's where I kind of wanted to be and expand my knowledge more into technology and be kind of an example myself. And it's very happy to see that today, like I'm leading a team of three very capable and smart ladies, and all are into the tech backgrounds. So that's a shift that I see, right? Like from where I started the journey to where I am right now, and to be able to see other women as well growing up and climbing up the ladder, because we now have so much inclusion and consideration that has been led by different initiatives, both in our organization and overall, I would say. So yeah, we definitely see the transition.
Okay, that's really, really super, actually. Thank you. And the fact that you're leading a team of, women now doing great things, that's the story. Thank you for that, Dhruvi. And Wafa, I have a different question for you. And this question comes from one of our students who you've met because they've been to your office before, from one of our events. And this is why we picked this question. And this question says, did you feel at any point that you couldn't understand anything at all when you first started learning, tech or your subject? How did you feel? How did you feel? And when you felt like this may be too much for you, how did you cope with it? I'm reading all the questions because I sent you some of this, but I made it short, so I'm trying to read all of it. When you found things were too much for you, how did you cope with it? So to start again, did you feel at any point that you couldn't understand anything at all when you first started learning about your subject or your job, whatever? And then when you felt it was too much, how did you cope with it?
Okay, so the first part, how did I feel or in
How
the
do
beginning
you,
when I had
yeah, what
when I was learning?
did you
Right.
have a moment when you couldn't understand anything at all?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
suppose, yeah.
All day, every day, even now at some points. And that's just to be
That's
completely
good to
honest,
know.
because I did
That's good
physics,
to
as
know.
I mentioned, and now I'm a DevOps product manager. Had no idea what DevOps meant when I joined. When Steve and a few others said, "What these are the roles that we've got that we think would be suitable for you," there were words I'd never ever imagined. AWS. I think we know about what AWS means now, Amazon Web Service. But when that came about to me after university, I thought, "What on earth?" So when I saw the word Azure DevOps, and I thought, right, I really have no clue, but I said I'll go for it. So every single day I was just learning. And how did I go about that? Well, I'm quite lucky. My line manager Harry, he's brilliant. And it was just, again, it's what something Fran calls stupid questions. I just kept asking stupid questions. And Magda, who's also on this call, and Fran and everyone, I constantly ask questions about the most simplest things. At AtkinsRealis, we have lots of abbreviations. So you'd see words like SNC and things like that, and I had no idea what they meant. And it was just asking those dumb questions. What does that mean? What exactly is that? Where do I find this? So every single day, it was just learning from me. I learned from the bottom up. But what also helped as well is we're in this generation of AI and technology, and I know everyone in this call knows what Chat GPT is, and Chat AI and Copilot. I know everyone knows that. I know you've probably used it on your homework or something at some point, because I certainly did during my university years. But that was my best friend. So no question is a dumb question. If you don't feel comfortable to ask someone, I would go straight onto this chat GPT and just ask them, what is this? Break it down or dummify it for me. Quite literally, I'd say dummify it for me in baby terms so I understand what it means. So that's how I learned. And I'm still learning every day. I think all of us are still learning because I'm still fairly new to the role. So that's how I learned.
Yes.
I had no idea about anything when I first came on. And the
Thank you.
second part
Yeah.
was
When it became too much, how did you cope with it?
okay, so at the moment, it still comes a bit too much at the moment, because you can, with what I do, I get involved with all this volunteering side of things, and I get involved with the technical side of things as well. So it can be quite a lot, especially when I take on a project myself. And what I do is sometimes it's just as simple as stepping away from the screen and just taking 5 minutes off, or reaching out to those peers. So we've got some amazing panelists on this. So it's just as simple as reaching out, and the rest of our team who work as with Next Tech Girls, Dan, Magda, Paul. It's just as simple as calling them up. I think one of the brilliant things that Fran mentioned is the flexibility, because we all can work remotely. You've got that safety net of you can just call anyone up at any point and say, do you have 5 minutes just to discuss X, Y, and Z? Or, there've been days where I call Magda because I'm lost with what we need to do next week.
Yes.
And that's just how I cope, and I think that's how everyone copes, just having someone to turn to. And in the working world, it's very much so, having someone to turn to. Again, nothing's dumb, nothing's silly, so
Nothing's silly.
we're all humans, and
Wafa,
that's how I cope.
thank you.
No
Thank you very
worries.
much for that. And there's a theme that's running through everything we've discussed today, and Fran started it, which is communication. Open your mouth and talk. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. So for everyone on the call, whatever you don't know, the root of it all starts with opening your mouth and asking questions. So a final question for all of you ladies, if we can just take like a minute each to give your point on this. It's a question that came through, and this person is asking, do you think that software engineers will be replaced by AI at some point? And if so, is it more suitable then to pursue a career in cybersecurity rather than software engineering, right? So I'm going to tell you to start with that, Wafa, and then move around. Only because you mentioned AI, obviously, because you love it so
Yeah.
much.
I actually don't think AI will replace software engineering roles, because someone needs to build the AI. AI wasn't just built by
That is
itself.
incredible.
So despite the fact that you might think, AI can write software code, fair enough, but someone needs to build that AI. Someone built ChatGPT, so while AI can do a lot of things, it can't replace humans. So that's my take on it.
Incredible. Thank you. And Millie, what about you? What do you think? This person, I just remind you again, they want to know if AI will take over, if you think so, that is it better to then study cybersecurity AI rather than software engineering?
So I've just put I've put a link in the chat because I think it's particularly pertinent to this discussion and one we were having previously. Actually, I think that that's okay. Yeah, so I think that this is something that comes up quite often, is particularly in cybersecurity, is you need to be technical to be of any use, basically, which is a complete misnomer. And when we talk about AI, it is still relatively immature, so I don't think that this transition will happen quickly. However, yes, it will have a value in some things, but it will have a value in the non-human component, as Wafa alluded to, and actually the soft skills, as they are, which I think are horribly undervalued. Actually, they're probably almost more valuable than the technical, because that sort of human evaluation you won't be able to achieve with AI. And I think that even if AI does come to the fore and it is used more often, it will probably be for those almost more technical roles, because they're a little bit more cut and dry. Whereas actually a lot of the stuff that we do in cybersecurity is human centric, and as Wafa says, there is still a human component to software engineering, evaluating things, checking things. So no, and it probably will have a growing role, but I don't think it will replace it entirely. And actually, I think that as women, we are often, I would like to say, better at the soft skills for a number of reasons. And those soft skills should be massively valued more than they are. I think that does come back to sort of, it's basically sexism, what's happened previously. And as Fran's mentioned, it's incredibly important. So perhaps we'll come to dominate in the advent of AI due to due to our skills.
I like that.
So
I like that.
that's my take on it.
We'll come to dominate. Thank you very much for that, Millie. That's actually really incredible what you just said. We'll come back to it. And also, just to say to everybody, Millie obviously is in cybersecurity, so she's spoken. I hope you heard her. And I'm going to bring it next to you, Dhruvi, because you are quite deep into projects. What do you think? Do you think humans will be outplaced or outdone by AI?
Yeah, so my take is based on the fact that I work day in and day out with these emerging technologies, evaluating them, and I'm seeing the kind of potential AI is definitely bringing in, and the exponential growth that it has happened over the just past few months and a year, I would say, and seeing these applications, how they are really expanding our potential of thinking about digital solution. I would say that yeah, so AI definitely has the potential to kind of do greater things. But at the end of the day, as humans, as software engineers, or as technology specialists, we really need to understand what's the beneath at the surface. How is the wiring happening? How things are being developed? How is the back end functioning? So, like the famous thing goes, right? Like AI is not going to replace humans, but humans who use AI will definitely replace those who don't. So, unless you know the functioning of working with an AI application, because there is no say in it that none of the applications today are not going to be exposed with the power of AI. Everything that we do today is going to have some impact of AI now or later on. So that's why we really need to embrace this technology and be prepared in fully understanding of how it works. So irrespective of which role you take up, whether a software engineer or a cybersecurity, build your niche so that you are that domain expert or that technology expert for that particular type of technology, and then you're able to work with these powerful, enhanced, emerging technologies above it.
Wow, I could listen to all of you all day. I'm sure everybody else can. Thank you so much, everyone, for that's just incredible. Fran, I'm leaving you out because I know that there are some questions popped in, and I think we might need you to get answers to, and we can send it to everyone. Yes, because I think this has been incredible, especially for those people who were thinking they're not able to do it, but you've just shown them that you can do it, even with not being somebody that comes from a background of tech. So thank you. We're going to, because we literally have like a few more minutes to go, I wanted to tell everyone, teachers, if your students have questions, please send them over to us. I'm sure our panelists of Trailblazers will be very happy to answer and send back to you, and we'll send them back to you. So any questions at all you have, send them over to us or pop them in the chat. I'm happy to get them to answer them, and I'll send them back to you. So before we go, I'd like us to please, let me share my screen very quickly. Teachers, if you can get your students, if they have phones and they're able to do this, then please get them to take, this is a QR code, and I'd like us to be able to take this QR code and give us feedback, please. We're also going to send it to all of you who joined us and ask your students to fill it out for us. It really helps us knowing exactly what it is that we can put for you next time. I'm just sharing now. Oops. Hold on 1 second. What have I done? Did I share the right thing? Can everyone see my screen? In fact, let me stop. I shared the wrong thing. I tell you what, this is going to go on forever. I'm going to send it out in the post. Pardon me. As you can see, it's not working in technology, eh? Sorry, everyone. However, I just want to say finally, especially for teachers with your students and parents who joined us, please remember that Next Tech Girls here, we do a lot of things for the work that we do in the ways that we try to inspire young girls to get into tech. And we do that by partnering, obviously, with companies such as AtkinsRealis. We work with some companies like Google, Accenture. We've worked with tons, and they all are part of the the organizations who are willing to help us educate more young girls, inspire them to get into the world of tech. So if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask us. Please ask all your students to sign up to our newsletter, because that's where we share every opportunity. For instance, we have an opportunity coming up with AtkinsRealis very soon for an Insight Day, which is always a place, the day when we take loads of students into a company and they can get to meet them in person, ask them questions, get to know more about what they do. So please tell them to sign up if they haven't signed up yet, and make sure that they follow us on all our social media platforms. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, which is their favorite. Yes, thank you very much for that, Paul. I will share that out later via our emails. Any other questions, please just send us your questions, and like I said, I'll pass it on to our Trailblazers for them to answer for you. I don't want to spend too much time because I think we've gone above and beyond our time, but thank you once again to everyone who joined in. Thank you to our Trailblazers. I think we have a react button that we can all clap for them. So if everybody can, give them a round of applause. A silent one, students, so your teachers don't get upset. Yes, but thank you so much. Really appreciated you joining us. This is going to be shared on our YouTube page, so you can always get time to go back and watch it. So if there are any students that you still want to have access to it, just ask us. We'll give you the link and they can go back and watch it. So it will always be there. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much to our Trailblazers. It's been fantastic talking to you all, and I hope you have a great day for the rest of your day. Bye everyone.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.